Welcome to Drum and Drummer, a podcast focused on drums, drumming and drummers. I'm George Pickering and that's Ben Winty, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. So stick around and join us as we pass the time whilst trying to stay in time.
Free, Uncle Derek, you can tie your tie around your head. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. I think you and Ben are going to be best friends.
Hello.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Mental. I was watching you. Good
Yep.
12 seconds.
Yep.
Right. For the listeners, Ben always starts the podcast episodes. I don't know how we've fallen into this, but I don't want to change things. And it's just how it is. And I have to watch him stare into the distance before he thinks of something to say. And because I always want it to be you to start the episode, you know? And I think I was expecting something big. So maybe it was quite good that it wasn't. Just hello, you know?
Just a simple hello. Yeah.
Hello.
To try and think of something witty and biting, like you're a bit.
Yeah.
But
And when he leaned into the muffin, he just said, hello. Hello, you. Anyway.
Welcome to another episode
we-
of Drum and Drummer.
Oh, yeah, blah, blah,
Bosh,
blah.
we're here, we're
We
here.
ended last episode with discussions on, what was it, easy gigs?
Well, I just sort of said, I think there might be some big gigs out there that
The actual reality of it as a drummer, when you'd be bored, or it wouldn't.
we all have these.
Visions of, I'd love to be doing that. And in reality,
It's probably not what you think it doesn't live up to what you think it might be. And I use the prime example of
and we've talked about Will Champion before. Good drummer, sure. Coldplay, one of the most successful British bands out there.
but the drumming's not complicated.
Really. It's pretty simple stuff, but it suits the songs. Sure, caveat, go, right?
And playing a big stadium, sure, it's great. But surely there must be a little bit of you that I want to put in a little bit of sizzle in this.
A little bit of, but you just got to go, boom, ka, boom,
Yeah.
boom, ka.
And in reality,
Would you actually be, if you got teleported into that position, would after a tour, you'd be like, a bit boring, innit? A bit boring. Chris, you stop going on about Gwyneth and Goop.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sick of hearing about Goop
Cunt candles.
and her fanny flavoured candles.
Yeah.
That's that sort of stuff.
And I also mentioned, I don't like really playing just like pop four to the floor. Have to do it quite a lot in wedding bands. And, I'm sure playing Glastonbury main stage with Dua Lipa, great experience. But if I'm just playing four to the floor, shoot me,
Really?
But listen, if the gig came up, I would do it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
What you forget is that you see these people doing it once. These people do it every fucking day. And I think, Again, that almost with like the West End. You go and see a West End show. I'm going to see one in July. Really looking forward to it. I love a musical.
What you see him?
So much so I'm going to write my own. The new production of Hercules.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's my partner's favourite Disney film.
Our tortoise is named Hercules. So it's a new production. West End. We're going to go out for a little belated 40th thing for me.
Nice.
Got to spend the night in London. Go and see Hercules.
You go and see it.
And you enjoy it. And you realise these guys are playing 8 times a week. And I knew a lot of people from uni who went into the West End in the pits,
And they become broken men.
they become broken people
All
after
women.
doing. All women, of course, they are allowed to play music as well. Much to your protest, they're allowed.
But 8 shows, we do
Mr. Brightside 40 times a year.
imagine doing that 8 times a week.
You're gonna struggle, aren't you? You're gonna struggle. But it also stems to the question of, what gig would be your dream gig that you'd feel would be like, yes, this is awesome, or what drummer's career would you like to have had? So I put that question to you, Georgie. Any?
Well, I mean,
Because let's say, you love the Arctic Monkeys.
yeah,
That
might
is-
not have that.
No, you can have that. But you've also got to have
The most recent albums.
Yeah, that's true. That is
Do you
true.
see what I mean?
Yeah. Arctic Monkeys up until 2013.
Yeah, you can't. You got to have the whole thing, though. You got to have the whole
You gotta have
thing.
the whole thing. Well, as in, just What do you mean, like as in live? Because they don't really play much of the new stuff, you know.
I think you got you got to have the whole. You got to have the whole. If you could swap places with Matt Elders, you got to have his whole career.
I'd absolutely swap places with Matt
You'd
Elders.
swap, and you'd
I'll
put
swap
up with the
places
Space Hotel shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because you still get to play all the bangers, you know. Just let
Yeah.
Alex do his thing for a bit, you know, and you know, let him do his song about the glitter ball or whatever.
There's
and
a
then,
piano in the
here we
Space
go.
Hotel.
Exactly.
Her name was Michelle.
Yeah.
I banged
And
her in the
she's-
Space Hotel.
That's pretty much it.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the guitarist Jamie Cook plays literally one note, and that's his bit for the song done. Yeah.
Glitter ball in the Space Hotel. Smoking cigarettes. Her name was Michelle. Driving a space car along the roads on the moon. Wow, 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 wow.
It's good, but I think it needs to be deeper. You're like a glitter ball in the Space Hotel. Oh,
Yeah, okay.
he puts in a little oh, she's fancy, Michelle.
She's fancy with her green skin in the Space Hotel. Driving space cars around. Whoa. Wow, wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Shiny shoes and piano bars. Bombing made of old car parts. On this high space hotel on the moon.
She's got a shiny shoes. Take your eyes off me, baby. Etc.
Don't take your 3 eyes off me, baby. Don't look at me with that alien stare.
Don't you look at me with those free eyes in the Space Hotel.
I'm more interested in your 3 tits.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so you'd go Matt Helders, yeah? You'd have that.
You'd have that.
I think after that.
One
musical
pro,
direction,
you'd get to meet Alexa
absolutely.
Chung.
Not anymore. Christ. What
No,
is it,
but you would have done.
2007?
You
Oh,
would have
yeah,
done.
Yeah.
You would have done.
So,
you would have
oh
met
God,
her.
this is confusing now. So, am I Matt Helders for his whole life, or what?
Your first whole career as a drummer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, from 2005, I'm Matt Helders.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did go through a divorce, and he's on to his second marriage. Don't really know what happened there. I feel like drumming-wise, would be great, but if I have to deal with all the admin of life, you know.
Maybe
This
you
has
could
got
remove
quite
the personal
convoluted.
admin.
You
You could be, if it's asking this questions to sing, it's like,
Yes, you could be Chester Bennington, but you don't have to kill yourself.
Yeah.
you could,
You
you could,
obsessed with
you
that.
could
You mentioned
avoid-
that in an interview.
yeah, yeah.
Second time you mentioned the Linkin Park death.
Yeah.
I
All
think
right, Chris Cornell.
stop naming people that die. Keith Flint. Kurt Cobain. It's sad, innit? I mean, that's a different topic, innit? You can get all that fame, but anyway.
Yeah.
Phil Rudd from AC/DC, he's often seen as a, interesting one because people almost joke that he's just playing the same beat every song. But it's hard to make it sound good, though, isn't it? I think that's the thing.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
Will Champion, if that is his real name, is playing simple beats, but he's doing them well. Doing them well, though, Think about Matt Hector with that Iggy Pop beat, He had to fucking study that,
Yeah.
Love don't come easy,
Yeah.
baby.
If you're asking,
Yeah,
I
I was about
think-
to.
probably band career.
I'd probably go Fall Out Boy. I think I'd go Fall Out Boy, even though the later stuff got a bit electronic-y. I'd just love to perform with Patrick Stump. What a singer. And I think for me, I love that style of music. One of my favourite bands. The drums are interesting enough, complicated enough, but you got some big banging tunes in there. That sort of thing. But I'd probably, I think a dream gig, as just jumping in on a gig, not having to have their whole career, I think it might have to be Avril Lavigne. I think that would be good.
Now or 2002 when she was at her peak?
I think either then or now, not in the middle. I think
Fair
be
enough.
there for the boom,
Yeah.
or this new resurgence she's having, and be like the hired gun, and like. I'm
So
playing
that's a
with
different
Avril Lavigne
thing, whether you do the whole career or just one gig. Because if it's just one gig, loads of people that would want to do just one gig.
now. No, I mean, I mean one gig. I mean like this. What do you call it? This renaissance of her career. So like for the
Oh,
last
okay.
3 years and ongoing. Like I get hired. She's back touring new music. I'm now
Because
the
that's
drummer.
what I thought you meant with Arctic Monkeys, and then you said, "No, I've got to be there since the beginning."
Yeah, it's 2 different questions. That's what I'm saying. I'd be Fall Out Boy's drummer for the whole career.
Yeah.
But if I was to just jump on become an
Okay.
employed drummer for an ideal show,
to do
Okay.
for a couple
Well,
of
I'd
years.
like to
it would
change
be
my
Avril
thing then.
Lavigne.
I'd like to be Charlie Watts for his whole career.
Yeah.
Because imagine 60. I mean, not now, he's dead, but like up until he died, 60 years being in the biggest band. Sure, you know, or maybe
Yeah.
like Bruce Springsteen, just stadiums every year forever, or but just jump on now, Metallica. That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, I wasn't expecting that, but we'll
No,
take it.
nor was I.
We've got a guest on this week's show. We've got Caleb Tamplin.
Yep.
Unsurprisingly, lives in Brighton. Someone you know, someone you played football with.
Why is that unsurprising?
Because that's just what we do. We're
Oh,
working
yeah,
our way
yeah.
through the drummers of
I
Brighton.
am sort of. I said Caleb's the last drummer in the football gang to have
Right.
on.
Yeah.
We've had them all now, so now I'll start searching beyond that. Maybe to the
Yeah.
cricket club or something.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know. We probably don't need to say too much because we have done 10 minutes of us chit-chatting.
Yeah, yapping
chit-chatting.
away.
Yep. Let's just dive straight in then. Here's our chat with Caleb Tamplin, Tramampoline.
Tampon.
I was going to message you. I don't have any recording equipment. I've just got my
That's all right.
AirPods and a dream, to be honest.
And a white monster at
Oh, mate.
9:15.
Breakfast.
For the listeners, Caleb has a cherry ice vape
Oh, no.
and a white monster.
I really didn't think we had started yet. Oh, no.
Yeah, well, no, we kind of, it's usually a slow start.
Cut this.
Okay.
Well, a lot of things. I'm 45 days sober today to start off with, which I'm
Good.
very pleased about.
Okay.
And I've been on and off being sober like the last year or so, but I've kind of replaced the grabbing a beer after work or whatever to grabbing one of these bad boys in the morning. And it's the same feeling of like, yes, this is going to make everything better, basically. Or like, and also vaping after a gig is like not the same as sneaking out for a cigarette. I don't know if you ever get this, but like after a gig, especially if it's like or if I perceive the gig has gone very well, where I think, and there's a lot of like build up and stress to it. I'll get out and I'll do this thing where I'm like, I crave attention. But the second, like, if someone tries to come up to you and talk to you, like just your mate being like, oh, nice gig, dude. Like, I'm always just like head down, like, no one look at me. I need to go outside for my cigarette or whatever. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Is that because you've had all the attention and then you're like, that's enough?
Maybe. It's that weird thing of being a musician where you are going on stage saying, look at me. Not only look at me, but like, especially as like a career drummer, you're kind of being like, look what I can do, especially if it's in a band where you're particularly proud of whatever you're doing for whatever reason. It's sort of, I feel like it's such a weird juxtaposition of you're saying, please just look at what I can do, and then the second you get off stage, you're still a normal person again. And I'm like, I get all shy, or like I just don't know how to talk to people. And that's the other thing, is like gigging without drinking is a bit of a weird one, because after the gig, then you're like, I might just go home, to be honest. Because like I've got the bit before down, I'll just have like 2 Red Bulls before, and then I'm like, let's go. And I can chat to people like I'm drunk, or I can get to that point of being silly without also making a complete fool of myself or whatever.
So is the sobriety, has that come from a serious place?
Not so much at first. I mean, there's been over the years, I've had every now and again. I think in the past I've had a particularly bad night and thought, right, I've got to do something about this. But I think last year, like sort of late summer last year, after my birthday, I kind of had a little I kind of just got a bit tired of it, and I have all these grand goals as a musician, like in my personal life or whatever, of who I want to be, and especially as a drummer, like what the kind of drummer I want to be, and want to get back into start working on my playing, and I wasn't even turning in the direction of any of these goals. So I thought like a good step is to cut alcohol out, and it did help. And then just earlier I was going to do the whole year sober this year, and then I had, without, it's not super deep, but I had just some personal stuff happen which sort of led me to be like, oh, I'm just going to start drinking again. And because I wasn't in the best place, like it was quite frightening how, and not in like a really deep way, but it's quite frightening how, wow, that really took over my life, because I just lay it in, because I was like, I'm not feeling great, and because I wasn't feeling great, after 4 weeks, it was like, whoa, okay, in 4 weeks, alcohol's taken over everything I do. And so I was like, okay, cool. We confirmed that at the very least, if I'm not having the best time, like personally or mentally, it's like, okay, that's not gonna, all it does is, I think I was postponing feelings or things I had to process to the next day. And then I was like, don't want to feel them today either. So I did that. So it was quite nice to recognize that. And then this is the first time I've been sober where I've really enjoyed being sober. And I've got an app that just like, it gives you a message in the morning. It's like, well done, another day. And I'm like, hell yeah, another day. I'm glad I didn't drink last night. And people used to ask me like before, like earlier on in the year, we can't, I don't know if we can't swear, can we? No swearing?
Do you want? Yeah, of course.
Hell yeah, I love swearing, man. No, but I only asked because I remember specifically people, I were like, when we played football, Tom at football, goalkeeper Tom, he'd always be like, oh, hey, mate, how's the not drinking going? I'd be like, fucking sucks. I hate it. And now it's like people ask me how I do. I'm like, yeah, it's good. I like it. I like not being able to drink. And I'm also realizing, it takes a few months of not drinking before you like properly hit the road and be like, right, I'm going to do this. Like it's only in the last 3 days I picked up my practice pad again for the first time in, I don't know, years. Because I used to be like TV 3 hours a day, work on my technique. And luckily, because I do think I did that well, that sort of stuck around in my hands. But it's that thing of, if you're only gigging and not practicing and doing a lot of like weddings or whatever, you realize, okay, not everything isn't bad, but you're like, there's so much to work on, really, and so many like tiny little like technique bits that you just need to cut out a little bit. Bad habits you need to cut out a little bit.
Did you find when you were drinking, that was something you were reliant on to gig or to get through gigs?
That's a great question. And this is a big thing that like has been different with being sober this time is I always said to myself and to other people, I'm best after a pint or a pint and a half. That's when Caleb is like the most Caleb, who's chatty, funny, a bit looser, a bit less socially awkward. And I finally kind of decided that's not true. Like that's an easy cheat to get to that place. But I've realized the worst case I can get there with like 2 Red Bulls rather than 1 before a gig. Like, and that's still relying on the substance. But even without it, like I can still be like, yeah, party, or like, but I can also do that without I can try and get to that place on my own, which is a really like big revelation and something I'm trying to learn to acknowledge that, hey, that's a great thing I've done for myself. Whereas if we get into talking about drumming, like a lot of my life has been self-deprecative or like bits of imposter syndrome mixed with like weird ego stuff in your own head, and there's such a clash. And now I'm sort of having to retrain my brain to be like, when something is genuinely good, and because I've worked hard on it, it's like, be like, no, that was good, and that's all right, and it's okay to say that was good. I think sometimes I really liked having like a pint before or whatever drink, and then having a drink on stage. And I felt that helped loosen some of those nerves, or like not nerves, but anxieties, especially if I like a lot of the time now, I'm not anxious about the gig. I'm anxious about the 20 minutes before a gig where I need to set up all like the backing tracks in it. And then the way I route things in Ableton, it's not like the best way to do it, but for setups somewhere like the Hope, when you're like at a quick festival change, everything's self-contained. So I'm running everyone's in-ears and backing tracks. And then I'm like, shit, I've got to like play drums. I've got to make sure the tom isn't angled like 90 degrees backwards away from me or something like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's a drum kit. And I need to make myself feel comfortable when I'm busy being like, oh, your ear's okay. Can you hear your voice like all right? And that kind of thing. So that's what I get stressed about. But I think actually not drinking at gigs has been okay. It's more like the release afterwards. And I would used to the thing that would get me through like a wedding gig, because sometimes I haven't had the best attitude of that, would be like getting home and drinking like quite heavily. But that would be like, you get back at what, between 1 and 3 a.m. And so that would just destroy my sleep going into the next week. So no wonder I didn't get anything done for like Monday or Tuesday or whatever.
What was it about the wedding gigs that made you hit the drink when you got home?
I had to really, and I'm still trying to, as you can tell, I really need to switch my attitude about wedding gigs because they pay my rent. And I am so, when they come through, when I get the date and know that money's coming in, I'm unbelievably grateful. And I actually just started playing with a new, just random wedding band with 2 really nice dudes. And it helped me reshift. It's like these guys are giving me an opportunity that meant I can delay getting the inevitable, getting a part-time job or whatever I need to do at this point in life. So I think I just struggle with the mundanity of it. And there's a bit, I'm sure you guys had this like 2022 when you got all the rollover from COVID. I think I remember there was 1 week my normal wedding band, I think we had like 4 gigs in a row where we were out and staying in like things, and we were doing at least 2 weddings a week, which now I'm like amazing. But I think I got very quickly jaded, and I started like hating people. When it's like, it's a service job as well. If someone comes up and asks for a song, you might not be able to do it, or you might not want to put their random obscure song on the DJ set, but you can still be polite to them. But I got to the point where I was like, I'm not having this anymore. And it was specifically my Instagram for a few weeks became like just pictures of like the most millennial, like live, laugh, love. And there was so many of them. It was like, the worst one was like a chalkboard, and it had like 1, we encourage you to have a little drink. 2, knee slides are not only encouraged, they're expected. Whatever. And it was like 3, Uncle Derek, you can tie around your head. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think you and Ben are going to be best friends.
Man,
yeah.
Listen, that stuff fucking grates my soul. I think the thing is, you have to step back, and I totally agree. Like, there's people at weddings I would literally murder. For doing the most mundane thing.
Yeah, you catch some old dude like eyeballing your singer for like the 2-hour set, and it's like, in my wedding band, our singer, she's amazing. But I think she's amazing and good at working with the crowd, but I don't think she's got to the point where she can tell someone to like fuck off, basically. Yeah. Which the singer, the guitarist who also sings, he's really comfortable telling people. There was just one moment at a show where like we had a depth singer as well, and we normally finish weirdly with, I think it's weird, but it's normal now, is with our encore song is I Bet That You Look Good on the Dance Floor, which we have fun because sometimes we just because we're so bored, we like end up kicking the drum kit over at the end and stuff. And I'm like, I don't even care if my cymbals break. It's funny. But like at the last, like the end of the build up where, everyone cuts out. It's like, well, I bet that you, like one guy like pointed at Matt who was singing, and he's playing guitar, so he can't really move. And the guy just lunged at the mic and like wanted to grab the mic off him to sing that last bit. And we all clocked it. Matt, who's a bigger dude, like palm striked his chest, like pushed him away down. And he's got a big voice anyway. Like he's got a big voice, big bassy voice.
Is it Matt Bofer?
Yeah, it's Matt Bofer.
Yeah, deep tones. Yeah.
Yeah. And he like lips like on the mic just said, fuck off, like so loud down the PA. We all kind of stopped because we were like, we've kind of got to the point where like if someone actually is essentially breaking the contract of like coming on stage and potentially breaking gear, we all sort of stopped. And he went, well, I bet that, and just carried on, and everyone was fine. And it was one of those where it's like, dude, another wedding, a different bride and groom, that could have actually got us in a little bit of heat. But he did it in such a great way where it was like clearly like he did it in such an authoritative way. It was clearly like, we're the room and we're all against this one person who like tried to ruin the gig.
Do you still play with Miles Goodall, or is that still a thing? Because that was the one he's in.
That was a while ago. So Miles does his own thing called Soft Top now, which is I've seen live, and actually is one of those moments where you're like, I'm kind of glad he stopped sort of working with us, and because I think he moved much closer in the direction he wanted to go in rather than what we collectively as a band. But whenever me and Matt and Jamie, he's a bass player. Yeah, of course you know Jamie.
Yeah.
When we would like be in someone's living room or whatever to the early hours of the morning, we'd always end up playing the EP we did with Miles. And we were always like, this is probably like the best stuff we've all collectively done. Like best, you can't really quantify it, but in terms of musicianship and like part writing, and because also Miles is such a good songwriter, because the songs are so good, there was so much scope and emotion to create parts that like either were just cool on their own or like really backed up what was going on emotionally in the song or whatever. So that was that EP, I think it's called Close to Okay, and we're really proud of that. And there's some bits where like leading into the chorus, Matt would come up with like some stupid lead line, and then Jamie was like, do you know what, I'm just gonna double that as well. And so I don't know, it's just there's some really fun bits on that. Like I love it.
It is nice when you have something that you look back on, you're like, I'm still proud of that as a
Six Guys, George. That's your best thing you ever
did.
Yeah, and you were 16.
It is the best. I was in a band when I was 18, Caleb, and it's still I did this EP, and still to this day I haven't topped it. You know what I mean? It was for whatever reason that energy of youth. So let's talk about people you do play with now. Who's original artist wise? Who are you playing with?
So my main thing is my band called Cry Sometimes. It's just the music I like. And so weirdly, the story of how I joined it was, I'm trying to do this quickly as possible. I was, locked down, going for a YouTube rabbit hole, and I was obsessed with the 1975. And they're still my favorite band, but I'm just less weird about it. But I would, look at interviews, and then there was like a dude just posted a video like how to produce the song I was particularly interested in at the time, how to produce like that song. And I kind of found him on Instagram and just messaged like, hey dude, you're sick. Like if you ever need a drummer or whatever, let me know. And then I saw he was producing for someone called Megan, who is the front man of Cry Sometimes. So I followed Megan, and they had some songs out released under a different name, and was on my like car playlist for like 2 years. And whenever it comes on, I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I played for this person or whatever? And then, funny enough, on the way to a wedding gig, and I was feeling, for lots of different reasons, feeling really bad about the wedding gig. I was also running late, and that wasn't good. I got a message from Megan being like, "Hey, I need a drummer," this kind of thing, and I was like, "That's really interesting." And we ended up messaging, and it's the first time I sent like an audition video of me playing one of the songs. And normally I've done that in the past and never get into the band, and this time Megan was like, "Yeah, sounds sick." And then they ended up coming back over they were in LA at the time. And we had our first rehearsal on the 1st of January, 2024. And we were both like super hungover. Yeah, it's been really great since then.
It's a
and
brave day to book a rehearsal.
I was going to say, that's a wild day to have a first rehearsal.
It was wild. And we were both
it's not like New Year's Eve is unexpected.
Yeah. Did you go out last night? Why?
Yeah. We both sort of messaged each other like half being like, when you air it out, it's like, we maybe should cancel because I'm not feeling great.
What time was the rehearsal? Was it morning or evening?
I think we had booked it for like 12 or 1 p.m. And I think we ended up both like saying like, let's meet up a little bit later or something. But it was kind of that like, I kind of wanted to start the year as I meant to go on, if that made sense. And I was like, I shouldn't cancel this because I love this band and all the songs and stuff. And so that's been exciting. We started getting a few more. It's quite new, the live side of it, but we're starting to get some cool support slots, and we've got like the odd festival this summer. And
when you did your audition videos, was it to songs by Megan?
Yeah, it was by a Cry Sometimes song called Something That Matters. And that at the time was like my favorite big song now. But yeah, I just recorded to that song in my studio, and it was filmed really badly on my phone. And I sort of just had some mics left over from when I used to do a bit of recording and stuff, and just sort of did it like good enough, basically. But I don't think Megan was expecting like a super high standard. So the fact that I actually like recorded it properly and that kind of thing I thought would probably help me a little bit. But I think it was, Megan could, in any band, you want someone who's really enthusiastic. And by the way I played the song, it was very clear that I was super into it and I loved it. So the live set's good now. Like we know how to play live. I think the thing is then working on your personal dynamics and your communication and figuring out like when they say this, that's just the way they are. They're not being rude. And so even though you perceive that as rude and that initially grates you, it's like, oh, that's just how they communicate. And they know that and I know that. And so we can move past it as long as we've had that conversation. And I'm trying to do that. Like I'm very not passive aggressive and I hate that kind of thing. And I'd like to be very calm, and I'll try to be very like kind, but in sound check sometimes like, hey, can you just do that? Just figure it out, because I've got 8 things going on here. Can you just find a plug socket? I don't know this venue. Don't ask me, ask the engineer. That kind of thing. It's like, whoa, just chill. And that's not helpful. That's not going to make someone have a great gig if I've just shouted at them like 5 minutes beforehand or whatever.
It's important to get that
funny though, I think
streamlined, efficient way of getting through that stressful period, because you all want to be you all want to be playing the set. That's the bit you want to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly.
Even in the wedding bands, it's like kind of teaching the less experienced guys like, don't put the drum kit where the drums are going, because I've got to then move it to then set it up, or your job is this.
Sorry.
You do power, I'll do this, you do that, and then once they've got it down, like we're in and we're set up in 45 minutes. We barely spoken a word. It's all just textbook. But that one still gets me. The drum kit on where the drums are going to go.
Because they're trying to be helpful as well. They're like, well, the drums go here, and I'm like, okay, so you very kindly helped me move it, and then you like lift it out to where they're about to sound. They're like, what's this doing here, you idiot?
I think particularly if you put your drum mat down as well, that even annoys me more. When I put my drum mat down and then they put the cases on the drum mat as well, not just the place it's going to go.
Sure.
The one that really annoys me, and it's It's so minor, but like I'll usually be the guy loading the van at the end of the night. Like
Right. Okay.
we'll pack down, and it'll get to a point. I'll get the kit out, and either the car, got to play car Tetris. There's a specific way this goes in. I know it goes in on the van. People will bring stuff out, and I'll just put it in. And the thing that annoys me is when people bring it out, they put stuff on top of other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, don't put this small little thing on top of my big kick drum, because my big kick drum's got to go in the van first. So I spend half my time just putting shit off shit to then just spread it out like Philadelphia.
I don't even really like when people take my drums outside to the car unless I'm ready. Like, say if I've packed away half of it and they go, oh, shall I start taking this out? And if it's dark, I want to say no, because there's a chance I'll forget my kick pedal. You know what I mean?
A dark alley behind a barn in the middle of the countryside with a black case.
I was in a band once, Caleb, and I got robbed after a gig. We were in this road, like we were in London, and we were like in a pub on a road, and basically, like, I was thinking, this road is a bit sketchy. I'm gonna wait until we're all ready to get my drums out. But the other guys in the band just started loading their stuff out like bit by bit. So they'd be like, "Oh, we'll take the bass head out, and then we'll take this out." And then they went outside and they were like, we've just been robbed. And they took the bass head, I think the pedal boards and something else. And I was thinking, I was bad, but I was like, that's why I didn't take my drums. I lost about $1,000's worth of gear. So it's like, do it all at once. Like, why why do it in bits?
Or you've got to have someone wait by the van.
Well, this is it.
Even if you just feel it's silly, just have someone.
I'm really fortunate that I haven't had any horror stories like that, but I'm kind of just waiting for it. I mean, the last A Few Cry Sometimes gigs ago, I packed down and we got halfway home and Megan was driving, and I was like, I haven't got my laptop, and I literally had left it outside the Green Door store, which is where some slightly unsavory characters normally hang out. And luckily, one of the venue staff had clocked it on the way out and was like waiting by it. And like venue staff just saw me sprinting down the road, like in my gig uniform. And I was like, But what I also do is with wedding gigs is I've got what used to be my little sister's drum kit, which is like the cheapest Mapex kit you could buy at the time. And because it's a 20-inch kick and it's poplar, so it's super light, I just use that. And because I don't care about it, I just don't put it in cases. So that saves so much space. It saves my back, because like I've got a Yamaha Oak Custom, and like that in its hard case, I can't, especially as I'm a smaller dude, there's no way I can lift that kick drum without lifting from my back and like absolutely destroying my back. So that's one thing I've done, is like, it means it's like I've got to wedding gigs where like any second I can save setting up and loading back out, I save by like, I don't have to go back to the car to get the cases to pack the drums up to bring them back. So I just chuck them in.
I quite like that.
Yeah. And also it's like if someone pours a pint over that drum kit, it's like, I don't really mind.
It only upsets your little sister.
Yeah. And she's fine with it. So
happy 6th birthday.
Yeah.
Back to something you talked about earlier when we were talking about your sobriety, and you mentioned a couple of things. One being you weren't heading in the direction you wanted to be heading as a drummer, and the other was your conflict of ego versus imposter syndrome. First of all, where do you want to head, and are you now heading that direction? And some examples of that contrast in your thought process behind your drumming.
Well, that first one of like where I want to head and where I am heading is like, I think so when I started BIM, I did at the time the college course, which was only a year, and that was enough qualifications to get into the degree. But it was only a 1 year course, and my birthday's the 1st of August, so I was always the youngest in my year at school. So basically what that meant is I had 1 year at BIM and then started my degree at 17 years old, which you shouldn't start a degree at 17 years old. It was kind of the right thing for me to do at the time, but basically before that, I turned up at that college. I'd finished GCSEs. I was 16 and had really good tutors and stuff before. And I spent that 5 months, and this comes into the ego thing as well. I was like, I need to turn up to that college thing and be the best drummer in that room, right? Which in some ways was a good goal because it drove me. And I had nothing to do. I was 16 years old. I was living at home, so I didn't need to get a job. So I was practicing 3 to 5 hours a day, probably something like that, because I had nothing else to do. I wasn't really like going out with mates or that kind of thing. So I did work hard in that particular thing. And then throughout BIM, and I turned up and I was the best drummer in that room. And I can say that because over the years of BIM, I got really complacent and everyone overtook me in terms of like just grind and work ethic. And my work ethic hasn't been great at all. So I've really lost out in playing. So after, at BIM, I had like tutorials with Pat Garvey every week or so, and at the time I really wanted to nail traditional grip, and he's such a good teacher when it comes down to like that thing, that over a year or a year and a half my left hand in trad grip became technically as good as my right hand, because I'd gone so down to the basics. Like I went in being like, I want to learn like triple stroke Moella like rolls, and he was like, cool, have you heard of a tap stroke? And I was like, what's that? So the next 3 weeks, like in the BIM common room, I'm literally like anally doing tap strokes, and people are like, are you all right? And I was like, yeah, Pat told me to do it. But that kind of, what I mean is like, I had that kind of, I really want to get stuck into some technique or whatever. And then since then life happens, and the last couple of years or like 5 years of like my playing have been just gigging and like playing for different artists and the challenges that provides. And what I have done is I've become much better musician, 100%, but I haven't really worked on my playing that much. So I'm starting to get this desire of that kind of getting a bit of, and this is where the ego things comes in, because I can talk like this now. I'm really worried about sounding big-headed, but at this point in time, I'm definitely not. But I felt like I had, well, I'll put it this way. I felt like at BIM, I had a confidence that when I sat up behind a kit, I was like, I had like a confidence of like what I can do if I wanted to show off or whatever. I felt really confident to do that. And now when I get up behind a kit, I feel like I'm like a good Brighton function drummer. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I want to kind of work on that, because I loved that, not that I was excellent, but that pursuit of excellence. And so like the last few days, I've now been sort of doing some practice pad work and just working out a few things and stuff, and realizing, okay, that technique or that base is still there, and just there's a few little things to sort out, and then I can start pushing forward, hopefully. So I think just trying to get back excited into, my housemate who's a musician, he was like, you've got to learn to love the process, not the results, which is like, I guess it's kind of like, I'm sure a lot of people have said that, but the way he said it really hit to me. It's like, I used to love sitting down and working stuff out on the practice pad, and when I've done it recently or tried to get back into it, it's because I wanted a result there and then. It's like, that's not going to happen. Your drop catch doubles, or your like Moella strokes, or molar strokes, right? There's 8 different pronunciations of that word, and I don't know what the right one is. What is it?
What's the question?
Moella, molar.
I was just considered. How to say it, or like what it is?
How to say it?
Moella, I think.
Moella.
I'd go with Moella.
Yeah.
Moella? I hardly know her.
Did you ask so you could just do that joke? No, but I know
Yeah,
what you mean.
dude.
I'll just say because it is funny because I used to because I still have lessons with Pat. I've been having lessons for 3 years now, and I used to
Oh,
say
wow.
like, "Where's this all going? Like, what's the point?
Mm.
Not what's the point, but like, is there
Yeah,
some sort of like end goal?" And he'd
yeah.
sort of like, be very mysterious as he is,
He
and
loves
be like,
hiding it.
"Yeah, well, we'll see."
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no, there isn't an end goal. It's just my
Mm.
playing is improving through the technique, but
Yeah.
there's no like, because it really felt like, we'd work on this and this, and it
Mm.
felt like, oh, this is all going to come together, right? And then I'm going to play a piece which is like,
Yeah.
has everything, but it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, and I'd ask him like,
Yeah.
why is the target tempo 120? He's just like, that's just a good target. Like, there's no like,
Yeah.
beaming light like you complete
Mm.
this and then you're a good drummer forever. It's just an
Yeah.
ongoing thing
Yeah.
I'm
until you
just wondering
die.
whether, like, because when we grow up in this country and like a lot of others, our whole
Mm.
life is focused on getting to exams and doing exams. And so there
Right.
is an end point. The whole
Yeah.
point of going to school, the whole point of learning all these things in school is to then do your GCSEs. With
Mm.
that is the point to then go to college and do your A levels.
And then you do that, and then you do your
Mm.
degree, and you get a certificate, you get a pass, a fail, you get a score, and then when you enter full adult life, which really I don't think starts till you're 26, really. When
Yeah. Well, I'm 26 and I feel that. I feel
you're
that.
having the 26-year-old crisis. We've all been there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
And that's when you
realize, oh no, that because my simile for this is playing darts, and
Right.
like I'll play darts quite often, usually once a day, sometimes just 20 minutes, sometimes an hour and a half.
Mm.
And I really want to be a good darts player. I love it. It's something
Mm.
not music related, something I really enjoy watching. And I play darts, and then sometimes my brain goes, "Why can't you hit a fucking 180 every time you
Every
play the
time.
hockey?"
Yeah.
And then you have to go, "You won't be able to do that."
Probably ever, but it might take you 10 years. So just enjoy playing darts. Just
Yeah.
enjoy playing darts at home for
Yeah.
half an hour. Listen.
Also, if not, what's the point? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
get a
not going
real
to become a
job.
professional darts player today.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to win the tournament today from my
Yeah.
garage. So just keep
Yeah.
practicing, because it will all build up as long as you're conscious of what you're doing and do things. But you're going to miss, you're going to hit. That's part of
Yeah.
it, isn't it?
I mean,
I was
it
gonna-
is enjoying it. And I was say there was a artist I played for once, and I remember in a rehearsal she said this verbatim: "I'm not going to be happy until I headline the O2 Arena." And I was just like, "But you're probably not going to be happy then." Do you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
might
yeah.
get there. I don't think
Mm.
you will, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just kind of like I
You
don't
won't,
know,
'cause you're
putting all
shit,
that
But
putting
Yeah.
all that thing in the future and be like, no, enjoy it
Mm.
now. Enjoy the kind of
Yeah.
because I also with the stuff
well, all
I
the
do
people
with
who
Pat,
get that
like,
successful kill themselves. So it's not.
well, this is
You
it.
know what I
yeah.
mean? The amount of
There you
people who
go.
are
And
like,
that's been
you had everything.
And then they're
Yeah.
like, nah, being in Lincoln
Yeah.
Park wasn't enough. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. You're never going to be happy.
Well, that's
are you?
been that's been drum and drummer. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, but it is. But I used to struggle with the kind of I can't do this kind of thing, and now I kind of
Yeah.
relish it. Like if I have to play something,
I
that I'm like,
totally see your point,
wow.
guys, because I've not had drum lessons for years. Or I barely practice.
Same.
clearly,
But like, yeah,
Brilliant.
but I can see totally, especially
Yeah.
in your situation where you're kind of going back to learning, going back to practicing,
Yeah.
going back to that mindset of being like,
Yeah.
I want a result, I want an end
Yeah.
goal, and it's not about that. It's you've got to
Mm.
enjoy doing it, and then you will gradually see that improvement come.
Yeah, like the way I started learning, I just found something I was good at. I think I started when I was 7 or something, and I went through the grades, and I loved the grades because it was like I've completed this level. Now I get to try the next level, and so it was only until I sort of went to BIM I became a musician. I was just a kid who played drums in his bedroom, if that makes sense. And so then going into it's like there's no achievement. It's like, yeah, maybe you got to the point where that gig went well, but it's like it went well, but like there are these things that could have been better, these things that are good. And I think maybe I sort of crave that kind of like because after I finished grade 8, I stopped. Like I kind of didn't play. I very rarely played drums for like a year, a good couple of like year or two, and then I started like later in secondary school, I started going back to my teacher before BIM, and that was weird because it's like, what do we do now? But he was a good teacher. He sort of like started being like, hey, here's some like metric modulation. I was like, what's that? Or I'll never forget, we did all that kind of stuff. And then a song that really sticks with me now is he was like, right, today we're going to do something different. We're going to play along to some actual music. And I was like, huh? What does that mean? And he played Ziggy Plays Guitar. And he was like, right, I just want you to play it. Just like, here's the main groove. You can figure that out pretty easily. And then it was like, I just started doing some fills, and he was like, okay, those are cool fills. Do they work with that song? And I was like, oh, I guess they don't actually. And it's the first time ever, like, which is now something I think I'd like to think I'm really good at, is like playing for the song and being appropriate, or like making decisions based off, does this fill just completely get in the way of the vocal or the lead line or whatever. Yeah, so I think, like you said, like the whole early life is hitting exams and hitting points, and now it's like there isn't really an end goal.
Maybe they should. Maybe why did they stop at 8? Do grades up to 50.
I would have loved that.
And you got like 40-year-old men being like, grade 39 tomorrow. Got my grade 39.
Yeah. Literally.
Just keep going. Just keep.
I would love that.
Just give us everyone. So you've just got these tick lists you could just keep achieving.
And when I've been a teacher, like last year for a few years, I was teaching like 40 odd like primary school students, and I really like taking them through the grades because they're just kids, they liked it. They were like, oh yeah, I've done that now, that's great. And I found that a really nice structure to teach, because I'm not great with structure in my life. So but I was going to actually ask you guys something. Like, you mentioned when you were talking about darts, right? You said, oh, I just want to be a professional darts player. And I would love to know what you guys think. I've struggled. Even like yesterday, I was listening to, I think, Conor McCorkdale's Drum and Dumber. So stupid. Yeah, I'm so sorry. That's just me being stupid. That's not me not doing my research.
I mean, you said his name wrong as well, but we'll ignore that one.
Wait, what?
Conor McCorkdale or something. There's definitely a name in there.
How do you say his surname?
McCorkindale? Is that it?
No way. Sorry, Connor.
Conor McCorkdale was on Dumb and Drum. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Carry on.
Well,
ask the question.
I was going to say, yeah, like I was thinking, like, I still struggle calling myself a professional drummer or professional musician. And I don't know if you guys have found that, or like what you've done to sort of push past that, because like I always maybe qualify it with like semi-professional, or judge it like, well, maybe I'm not earning all my income from music. And yeah, I don't know if you guys have found that.
Oh my God. I'll answer this one. Can I answer this one quick whilst Ben thinks of his answer? So I always think of our intro whenever that comes in, you know, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. And part of me, sometimes I listen to that and I'm like, oh, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, because it's not, sometimes I don't class myself as fully professional, because I always have a part-time job.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but what does it mean to be professional? Like, I mean, you know, when it's your profession and that is it, but it's hard to make money from drums, solely from drums. And every drummer I know, unless they're a fucking trust fund kid and don't admit it, but every drummer I know has something else. You know, it might be related to music, but it might not. But they all want to just make it just from gigging.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few that do just do that, but there's a lot that, you know, and I don't know. I'll say another thing. I used to kind of, probably without thinking about it, put myself down when someone's like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, you know, I've got this job that I do, but I also play gigs and stuff.
Yeah.
You know? But now when people ask, I just say I'm a drummer, and they go, oh, cool, you know. And then if we chat more, I might say, oh, I also work part-time and I do this thing, but you know, it's mainly gigs, you know, almost to like manifest it, almost to be like, no, I am a professional drummer. Because whenever I tell people, and they're like, no, but you make money from playing drums every week. Like, how is that not a profession?
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. Yeah.
Definitely there's times I've cringed when I've said I'm a professional drummer.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, I had a consultation with a spinal surgeon the other day, And he said, you're a professional drummer. And I said, yeah. And I'm thinking,
Mm.
because it's such a broad thing. Like, am I in a band you've heard of? Absolutely not. Am I in the charts? Absolutely not.
Mm.
But I think fundamentally, I think you have to have that. I also, part of my ego is I want to I want to separate myself from the people who aren't.
Right. Okay.
Who might.
Yeah.
I think you have to have some self-confidence in your ability and your level, and I at my studio, lots of pub bands rehearse, and I have to believe, or I want to believe. People might think it's silly, and it's rude in a way maybe, but it's like, no, I'm better than that. Like I'm at a different level to that.
Sure.
And that has to come from a bit of self-confidence, a bit of, because otherwise you can just get yourself into a thing of, oh, do I deserve this, or do I, that kind of thing. And I think, but fundamentally, do I get paid to play the drums? Yes. Cool. Then I'm a professional. And for me, it makes up, along with studio work, that's my income. And
Sweet.
playing drums, I'm at a point, really, I'm older than you guys, like I don't play my drums unless I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
That's the kind of reality, really. I don't do any original stuff. I will in the studio for people, but I'm getting paid for that as well. So I think it's okay. I think it's okay to say you're a professional. If you are being paid to go and play the drums, you are a professional.
Yeah.
And I think you could then subcategorize it and go, well, what proportion of your income is?
Yeah.
But if someone is paying you to go and do a show or to do a session, you're a professional.
Yeah, and I think
for me, that's
thing
the
is,
my spinal surgeon is a professional because he's being paid.
I'm
glad he is, to be honest.
Yeah. But you don't want him just.
I also work in a bakery 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Well,
this is so the proportion thing. Well, it's exactly that. It's like, I only work in a bakery 3 days a week because rent's so mental in Brighton, and I also want to rent my own little drum studio, and this and that, and it's like, if I found a house share that was cheaper, I could live on just gigs.
The number of people solely earning a good living from performing drums is so small.
Yeah, and a good living, that's such a good qualification.
Is so small that everyone does something else.
Well, I'm going to change the subject to do you think sobriety has helped your trash talk when playing football against me?
Oh,
because the other night.
Also, there's something I want to clarify, because George mentioned you played football together.
Yeah.
And you, apparently, Caleb, you went, oh, you're that George.
I was going to say, so that should be like, when
I'm having only met you for this hour and a bit. Having only met you for this hour and a bit, it's been great chatting to you.
Thank
you. Knowing what Drum and Drummer is.
Yeah.
And you playing football with George for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things being parallel in your life and not realising it's St. George, to be honest, doesn't surprise me.
Well, that's a hard truth right there, isn't it, Ben? I think this is, I said this to my housemate the other night. I feel like I'm a bit of a crossroads of my life, and I've had some like tough conversations with my parents as well. It's like, actually, these are the kind of things I need to sort out and start taking a bit more seriously. And the same thing with drumming and career and stuff, because it's like I've got to the point where I am. This is the thing. I can't even say it. I'm at the point where I am a good drummer. I was about to qualify and being like quite a good drummer, but it's like, no, I am good. I've been playing drums for my birthday. It'll be 20 years. So it's like, if I wasn't good at this point, that would be a real problem. So it's like, I've got these skills. I now need to kind of take it more seriously. But yeah, it was just one of those things. It's like I don't know, just didn't make the link, because I think, George, I've been following you for a while, because I think I depped years ago for the 80s band, and I think they probably mentioned you, so I followed you or something, and then when we've been playing football, I've just been like, cool. But I was thinking that should be the, when you post it on Instagram, that should be the first line, just that screenshot. I'm like, oh, it's and me just putting my what an idiot.
Wait, so hold on. So was there almost 3 different Georges? Was there podcast George, football George, and he's a drummer? Did you know that I was
I knew you were
the drummer?
Well, no, there was drummer
Do you
and
think I was?
podcast George, and there was football George.
Yeah,
Because I don't
apparently.
know, I underestimate how many people are musicians at football. Because like
Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
Jordan, I didn't realize that like
yeah,
he's like a working musician.
yeah.
Next time you guys play, I want you, as your elder, I want you to trash talk each other when you're on opposing teams, but with positive reinforcement.
There we
That'd
go.
be cute.
Yeah.
That-
Oh,
Yeah,
your paradiddles are so fucking good.
yeah. You are a professional drummer.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your trad grip is exceptional, and then swap on the top corner. Do you know what I mean? That sort of stuff.
That
Build each other up.
would be the best thing, because my trad grip isn't exceptional anymore. It's not that it ever was, but I got to the point where like that's all I played. I only played trad grip, and then I realized that it's not pointless at all. Basically my biggest influence I think is Dave Weckl, or like he's my favorite drummer, and I think he's a good example of like a pure perfection on drums. Now you rarely want pure perfection on drums, but if you do, that I always have really loved his playing.
Our final question for you, Caleb.
Yes.
Who is your favourite delivery company?
Now I heard this on the other podcast, and and I was like, I used to be buying and selling like loads of drums, so I don't know. I think everyone hated it, but I didn't actually mind Hermes. I was okay with them. So what are they? They're
now called Every.
Right, yeah. I said that's right. I get loads of emails from them like, who is this? So I haven't done much buying and selling. So I think I'm gonna go with Every. What about you guys?
I agree. I think it was like almost like Nickelback.
I think it'll be one of the most successful brand turnarounds in the history of commercialism.
Yeah, they were cool to hate, but now it's like
That's
actually
right.
they're all right.
I remember are you guys on Buy Sell Trade Drums in the UK on Facebook?
Yeah, I am actually.
I used to post that a lot, but I just remember people just calling it My Herpes or whatever instead of My Hermes or whatever it was called. But yeah, it's decent now, I think.
Any bad delivery stories? I haven't asked this in a while.
Oh, bad delivery stories. I think it was just me when I was 16 trying to be overly helpful when I was selling, and I'd send a picture of every process of the wrapping up of the cymbal to this dude, like 30 pictures of like, here, I've put some stuffing like inside of the bell of the cymbal, here's a bit around the edge, and here's how I've reinforced it. And he was like, it's cool, dude, like, great. And I was like, no, you need to see this, I promise. I think I've been really fortunate that I haven't had anything like that go wrng. The only recent thing is I finally got my luggage lost on a flight to Copenhagen, which had all my like gear for a gig that night, and but that was fun. But other than that, no, I don't think I have. Don't think I have had any.
Fair enough. Where can people find you, Caleb?
People can find me on my Instagram is caleb.tamplin, and that's
nice.
You can pretty much follow that to see some cooking content, and some drumming content. So if that's what you like, check me out.
I didn't see much cooking.
Oh no,
I
think there's a highlight story.
Cooking on the kit.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, cooking on the kit.
Sizzle.
Oh yeah, food.
My Instagram,
Okay.
my Instagram is like so out of date. I need to figure that out. That's another thing. But yeah, sorry, it's been pretty chaotic.
No, that's what we
worries,
want,
man. It's great. Like, wish you all the best. With achieving your goals, and your 26 club now. That's the year to make those changes, and best of luck with it. And
thank you very much, guys.
Bye.
See you guys later.
There we go. That was our chat with Caleb. Very interesting chat. Went down some paths I didn't think we'd go down when I woke up this morning. But thank you to Caleb for being so open and honest. Really.
Yeah.
It's obviously a bit of a turning point. Lots to learn from there. Obviously wish him the best of luck,
keeping his sobriety going and refocusing on what he wants to get out of drumming and life. So, yeah, very open and honest. Love it. Thank you, Caleb.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, it was a joy to have him on. He was one of those people who, I think I've said before, there's a lot of guests we have on who I know just enough to go, do you want to be on my podcast? But I don't really know them, you know? And it's always a good chance for us to both, you and I, Ben, to meet someone and chat to them kind of for the first time, you know? Because as I said, beyond football trash talk, we haven't really ever chatted, you know? But yeah, great. As you said, best of luck. Keep it going. Keep smashing them goals.
Absolutely. Well, we will wrap up soon. We're not going to waffle on for another 10 minutes.
No.
But I'm doing this obviously ahead of time because we did this last week because I'm busy and timings and all that. But Blacksmiths is now closed, mate. The Blacksmiths is now closed.
Holy moly.
The video, I made a little emotional video. Yeah, will have already been out. We'll make sure it's on the Drum and Drummer podcast Instagram as well. But I actually got a little bit emotional watching it because I've been very caught up in the future, very caught up in what's coming next, and actually making this little video. You haven't seen it yet.
No.
A very young you is in it.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm intrigued about. Yeah. Me from 12 years ago?
Yeah, maybe. And watching it back, and it was like, I had so many, I've got so many more photos and clips I could have put in it, but I wanted to keep it fairly short. And I just collated a load of things together. And actually watching it back and go, yeah, that was a pretty cool time.
Yeah, absolutely was.
It was very,
we won't
very
waffle
proud
on about it. But I do think I was there, and I'm not saying it's because I was there, but I think peak Blacksmiths was 2018, 2019 for me. Me, you and Neil, we seem to be in all the time. I'm saying peak because it was when I was there. You might have had better times, sure. If you did, then great. But it was magic. It was just, we just sort of come in and deliberately come in early and leave late to just hang out. You know what I mean? It's a pretty cool place to work,
Yeah, so I'm done, and as this comes out, I will be in the midst of moving everything out and getting ready to smash it all down and burn it to the ground. And one thing, I'm not sure if I will do it, but I really want to, is I want to film myself in slow motion throwing the anvil through the window in the recording studio.
Well, obviously you have to do that.
Yeah, and I've also got a piano, really old shit upright piano, that I think I might just film smashing up as well with a big hammer. Because when I was in London, I used to get really angry. I was a really angry person. Kind of jokingly, but things would wind me out. I think it's quite clear I still have some of that. The little things will annoy me to fuck, but I express it verbally to people I trust, but I don't ever act on it. Do you know what I mean? Really. I've never kicked a bin in angst. But one thing I had in London, I actually won the SingStar Angriest Member of Staff Award one year. It's things that annoy me. Like if you're, and I think I'm valid in this, if you are getting up to the barrier to scan your Oyster card, as it was at the time, obviously now you can just do contactless through your phone. If you are getting your paper ticket out, because a lot, I was there in the paper ticket days. If you get to the barrier and then that's when you decide to get your Oyster card out, you don't deserve to live.
Fair enough.
You're going to go through a tube barrier. Get it out while you're walking up to it, and then beep, you're through. One continuous motion. That sort of thing would drive me insane. And one of the things I had when I was at PlayStation was I was always thinking of business ideas, and I wanted to go into music again and do recording, which I have done. Tick. One of the things I was like, wouldn't it be great if you had like a place like in Street Fighter where you can just go and smash up a car or go and smash something up. And someone else did that. And you have rage rooms.
Oh yeah, you talk about this a lot. Yeah, how you invented rage rooms.
I did invent rage rooms.
To see that show on Netflix that everyone watched.
Yeah, I was the first person to watch Squid Game. I invented rage rooms,
which is mental. It's a wild thing to say.
No, not really, not really.
And I know your partner will listen to this and be like, "Yeah, in that mental," because she was the one that said that to me the other day.
I also did have the fairest hair in the South. I should have been the Milky Bar kid.
Yeah.
I have invented the Civ Walk. I've got another invention, that odometer that displays the speed your car is travelling on the outside of the car to publicly.
When you said
in year 7, I said a car company should
should invent. Wouldn't it be funny if a company invented a car called the Car, and lo and behold, the Ford KA came out. How do you pronounce it? Car. There you go. I'm not saying I'm a genius, but
You can have all of them. It's the Squid Game one. That's the one that you can't. What do you mean? You were the first person to watch Squid Game.
it came on Netflix. I watched it, and I watched it all straight away. I watched it all, and I was the first person going, "You got to watch Squid Game." And then it became Netflix's most successful show ever, and it's like, well, it's not coincidence, is it? Do you know what I mean?
Amazing.
I watched it. I did a decade gig with Baz and Colin, and I went, "You got to watch this show called Squid Game." I stayed up all night watching this whole thing. It's amazing. And then lo and behold, a week later, is everyone going, "Oh, have you seen Squid Game?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the first one to watch it." Yeah. You're telling me about a show.
No
I was
way
the
it was a
first thing
week
to
later.
watch.
There's no way it was a week later. It was probably the same day that the hype started building, and then people carried on watching.
Yeah, but why? Why did it start building? Because I
How-
watched it
What?
and told
You
people
told
to...
Baz. I mean, Baz does talk to a lot of people all the time, but there's no way Baz could generate that kind
I'm
of
just
buzz.
saying, like, you can't
Buzz
you
to
know,
Raz.
trace it back. Who watched it first? Me. Just saying. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, Blacksmith is dead. Cheers. Bring on the little pig. Let's go. Thanks for listening. Thanks to Caleb for joining us. George, I hope you have a good week.
You too.
People get in touch. What's your ideal gig? What's your who would you love to have the career of, or what would be your ideal gig to just hop on as a session for a couple of years? Get in touch. Let us know. The email address is drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. You can also message us on the Instagrams at drumanddrummerpodcast. You can also go and see the emotional farewell to the Blacksmiths. Bye bye Blacksmiths. Have you any wool? No, we're shut. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to Drum and Drummer. You can find us on Instagram at Drum and Drummer Podcast. And you can send us an email to drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. Remember, just pick up the sticks and twat it.